Most people will work for 40 years and never realize the real reason they struggle with money. It's not because they are lazy. It's not because they are unlucky. And it's not because the world is unfair. It's because they are running a mental program they never chose. Right now, inside your mind, there is a silent script shaping every financial decision you make, what risks you take, what opportunities you ignore, and what you secretly believe you deserve. And that script is the invisible line dividing people who build wealth from those who remain trapped, chasing it. Two people can start at the same place in life and end up in completely different realities. One spends years fighting limits that seem unbreakable. The other turns obstacles into stepping stones. The difference is not talent, background, or intelligence. The difference is how they think. And once you see that difference clearly, you cannot unsee it. This audiobook will reveal the hidden patterns of rich and poor thinking, the beliefs, habits, and mental frameworks that quietly determine success. More importantly, it will show you how to rewrite your own mental script. Because wealth is not born in your bank account. It is born in your mind. And by the end of this journey, the way you see money, opportunity, and your own potential will never be the same. Chapter 1. Most people never consciously choose the way they think about money, success, or their own potential. They inherit their beliefs the way they inherit a language, quietly, automatically, and without question. From childhood conversations overheard at dinner tables to the attitudes absorbed from friends, teachers, and society, a silent framework is built inside the mind. That framework becomes a lens through which every opportunity is judged and every risk is measured. The tragedy is not that this framework exists. The tragedy is that most people never examine it. Imagine carrying a pair of tinted glasses your entire life without realizing you are wearing them. Every color you see is filtered. Every judgment you make is subtly distorted. Yet because you have never seen the world without those glasses, the distortion feels normal. In the same way, your financial beliefs color your perception of what is possible. They shape your comfort with ambition. They influence whether you view wealth as attainable or distant. This is where the journey begins, with awareness. A poor mindset is not defined by the amount of money someone has. It is defined by patterns of thought that prioritize safety over growth, excuses over responsibility, and short-term comfort over long-term vision. A rich mindset, in contrast, is not about greed or extravagance. It is a disciplined way of thinking that seeks opportunity in difficulty, values learning over immediate reward, and believes that improvement is always possible. These mindsets are not fixed identities. They are habits of thought. And habits, once recognized, can be changed. Consider how often people say, "That's just the way I am." It sounds harmless, even honest. But hidden inside that sentence is a quiet surrender. It suggests that personality and destiny are permanent, that growth has limits, and that effort cannot rewrite identity. This belief is one of the strongest anchors of poor thinking. It locks people into familiar patterns and disguises fear as acceptance. A rich mindset rejects that surrender. It treats identity as a work in progress. It understands that the brain is adaptable, that skills are learnable, and that the boundaries of today do not define the possibilities of tomorrow. This perspective does not guarantee instant success, but it creates a foundation on which success can be built. Every major shift in life begins with a shift in interpretation. When a setback occurs, the poor mindset asks, "Why does this always happen to me?" The question carries an assumption of helplessness. It frames the event as evidence of personal limitation. The rich mindset asks a different question: "What can this teach me?" That question transforms the same event into information. It turns pain into instruction and failure into feedback. The difference between those questions may seem small, But over time, it compounds into entirely different lives. One path leads to resignation, the other leads to adaptation. One reinforces fear, the other strengthens resilience. Think of the last time you faced a challenge that felt overwhelming. Perhaps it was a professional setback, a financial strain, or a personal disappointment. In that moment, your inner dialogue began to narrate the experience. Some voices inside you may have whispered doubt. Others may have encouraged persistence. The voice you chose to follow shaped your response. This internal dialogue is the battleground of mindset. Most people underestimate how powerful their daily thoughts are. They treat thinking as a passive activity, something that happens to them rather than something they can guide. Yet neuroscience shows that repeated thoughts strengthen neural pathways. The brain rewires itself around what it practices. If you repeatedly rehearse fear and limitation, those patterns become efficient and automatic. If you consistently practice possibility and problem solving, those pathways grow stronger. In other words, your mind becomes what it repeatedly does. A poor mindset often rehearses scarcity. It fixates on what is missing, what is risky, and what could go wrong. This focus is understandable. It evolved as a survival mechanism. But when scarcity thinking dominates modern life, it narrows perception. Opportunities that require courage appear invisible or intimidating. Decisions are filtered through the question, what if I lose? A rich mindset rehearses expansion. It does not ignore risk, but it balances caution with curiosity. It asks, what if I grow? This subtle shift opens cognitive space. It encourages exploration and calculated experimentation. Over time, that openness attracts experiences that reinforce confidence. One of the most profound differences between these mindsets lies in their relationship with time. A poor mindset is heavily anchored in the present moment. It seeks immediate relief and instant gratification. Saving feels like deprivation. Learning feels like delay. The future appears distant and abstract. A rich mindset extends its vision forward. It treats time as an ally. It is willing to endure short-term discomfort for long-term gain. This orientation transforms decisions. Investing in skills, relationships, and disciplined habits becomes meaningful because the future is vivid and valued. This does not mean that people with a rich mindset never enjoy the present. Rather, they integrate present enjoyment with future intention. They understand that today's actions are seeds. Some seeds sprout quickly, others require patience. But every seed shapes the landscape of tomorrow. Another defining feature of mindset is the interpretation of other people's success. When someone with a poor mindset encounters a successful individual, envy often surfaces. Success is perceived as a limited resource. If someone else has more, there must be less available for everyone else. This belief fosters quiet resentment and discourages collaboration. A rich mindset views success as evidence of possibility. Instead of shrinking in comparison, it expands in inspiration. It studies achievement with curiosity. What strategies were used? What habits supported this outcome? This approach transforms other people's victories into lessons rather than threats. The social environment you inhabit reinforces whichever mindset you practice. Conversations centered on complaint and blame strengthen scarcity thinking. Discussions focused on solutions and growth cultivate abundance. This is why deliberate exposure to constructive influences, books, mentors, communities, is not a luxury, but a necessity. Your surroundings act as an echo chamber for your beliefs. Yet even in environments that seem limiting, individual agency remains powerful. History is filled with examples of people who transformed their circumstances by first transforming their thinking. They did not wait for perfect conditions. They began with the one territory fully under their control, their interpretation of reality. This is the central message of this chapter. Mindset is not an abstract concept reserved for philosophers or psychologists. It is a practical tool. It determines how you allocate attention, energy, and effort. It influences whether you approach life defensively or creatively. At this point, you might wonder whether changing mindset is truly possible, or whether it is another motivational slogan. The answer lies in deliberate practice. Just as muscles strengthen through repeated use, cognitive habits evolve through consistent training. Awareness is the first repetition. Each time you notice a limiting thought and consciously replace it with a constructive alternative, you carve a new mental pathway. This process requires patience. Old patterns resist change because they are familiar. They promise safety even when they deliver stagnation. But every moment of conscious redirection is an act of quiet rebellion against inertia. It is a declaration that your future will not be dictated solely by your past. As you continue through this audiobook, you will explore specific strategies for cultivating a rich mindset. You will examine beliefs about money, risk, learning, and self-worth. You will encounter exercises designed to transform abstract ideas into daily habits. But all of those techniques rest on a single foundation: the recognition that your thoughts are not fixed truths. They are tools, and tools can be reshaped. Right now, as you listen, a subtle shift may already be occurring. You may be observing your own thinking with new curiosity. Perhaps you are recalling moments when fear disguised itself as practicality, or when ambition was softened by doubt. This awareness is not a cause for judgment. It is an invitation to redesign the architecture of your mind. The journey from poor thinking to rich thinking is not about pretending obstacles do not exist. It is about developing the mental flexibility to navigate them. It is about replacing automatic limitation with intentional possibility. And it begins with a simple but profound decision: to take responsibility for the stories you tell yourself. Because those stories are not harmless narratives, they are blueprints. And the life you build tomorrow will rise from the blueprints you choose to draft today. Most people assume their lives are controlled by circumstances, but circumstances are often the visible results of invisible beliefs operating beneath the surface. Like strong ocean currents that cannot be seen from above, beliefs quietly steer direction long before movement becomes obvious. A poor mindset is deeply rooted in unconscious beliefs about money, success, and self-worth. These beliefs are rarely questioned because they feel familiar, and familiarity creates comfort. When someone believes that wealth is reserved for a lucky few, they unconsciously filter out opportunities that contradict that belief. They hesitate when action is required. They delay when courage is needed. Over time, hesitation becomes habit, and habit slowly shapes identity. A rich mindset begins with a deliberate shift in belief. It accepts that ability can be expanded and that knowledge can be learned. Instead of asking whether success is possible, it asks how success can be built. This belief does not guarantee an easy journey, but it creates forward momentum. It replaces passive waiting with active participation in personal growth. Beliefs are powerful because they function like instructions to the brain. The mind constantly searches for evidence to support what it already accepts as true. If you believe that failure defines you, every mistake becomes proof of inadequacy. If you believe that failure is feedback, every mistake becomes information for improvement. The event itself remains the same, but the interpretation produces entirely different emotional and behavioral responses. This explains why two people can experience identical setbacks and walk away with opposite outcomes. One withdraws, convinced that effort is pointless. The other adapts, convinced that progress requires adjustment. The difference lies not in talent, but in the belief system that interprets experience. Many limiting beliefs are inherited from environments that equate safety with restriction. Phrases such as, "be realistic," "do not aim too high," or "people like us do not achieve those things," may sound protective, but they quietly establish ceilings inside the mind. Over time, those ceilings feel natural, and self-imposed limitations disguise themselves as wisdom. A rich mindset questions inherited ceilings. It does not reject caution, but it refuses to confuse caution with surrender. It understands that realism is not the enemy of ambition. Realism simply measures the distance between the present and the goal, while ambition provides the energy required to travel that distance. To transform belief, you must first expose it. Awareness acts like light in a dark room, revealing objects that were always present but unseen. When you notice a recurring thought, such as "I am not capable" or "this is beyond me," pause and examine it. Ask where this belief originated. Ask what evidence supports it and what evidence contradicts it. This simple inquiry weakens automatic acceptance and creates space for deliberate choice. Changing belief is not an act of denial. It is an act of reconstruction. You are not pretending that difficulty does not exist. You are choosing to interpret difficulty as temporary and navigable, rather than permanent and defining. This reconstruction requires repetition. Each time you consciously replace a limiting belief with an empowering one, you strengthen a new mental pathway. Language plays a critical role in this process. The words you use in private thought shape your emotional responses. Saying, "I will never understand this," closes the door to effort. Saying, "I do not understand this," yet keeps the door open to persistence. The addition of a single word transforms frustration into possibility. A poor mindset often speaks in absolutes, using words like always, never, and impossible. These words create rigid mental boundaries. A rich mindset favors flexibility and uses language that implies growth and change. It recognizes that identity is dynamic and that today's limitations do not dictate tomorrow's capacity. Another essential difference lies in responsibility. A poor mindset tends to externalize blame, attributing outcomes primarily to forces beyond personal control. While external factors certainly influence life, excessive focus on them erodes personal agency. It convinces individuals that effort is useless because power exists elsewhere. A rich mindset acknowledges external realities but concentrates on controllable responses. It asks what actions are available within present constraints. This focus restores agency and transforms passivity into engagement. Even small actions accumulate into significant change when practiced consistently. Belief transformation is reinforced by evidence gathered through action. When you attempt something challenging and succeed, even in a small way, you generate proof that contradicts old limitations. This proof strengthens new beliefs and encourages further experimentation. In this way, action and belief form a powerful cycle, each amplifying the other. Fear inevitably accompanies this process because new beliefs demand unfamiliar behavior. Fear is not a signal to retreat. It is an indicator that growth is taking place. A poor mindset interprets fear as a warning to stop. A rich mindset interprets fear as confirmation that it is moving beyond comfort. Courage does not eliminate fear. It trains your response to it. Instead of waiting for confidence to appear before acting, individuals with a rich mindset act in spite of uncertainty. Confidence then emerges as a result of repeated engagement. Surrounding influences can accelerate or hinder belief change. Conversations, environments, and media either reinforce scarcity or cultivate expansion. Exposure to stories of resilience and achievement broadens your sense of possibility. It demonstrates that obstacles can be navigated and that transformation is attainable. However, external inspiration is effective only when paired with internal commitment. You must decide that your beliefs are not fixed inheritances, but adjustable frameworks. This decision marks the transition from passive recipient of circumstance to active architect of mindset. As you reflect on this chapter, observe the beliefs that quietly guide your daily choices. Notice which thoughts encourage growth and which ones enforce limitation. Within that awareness lies the power to choose differently. And in choosing differently, you begin to reshape not only your thinking, but the trajectory of your entire life. Chapter 3. There is a quiet conversation happening inside your mind every moment of every day. It speaks when you wake up in the morning. It comments when you face challenges. It whispers when you consider taking risks. Most of the time, you are not even aware of it, yet this inner dialogue shapes your emotions, your confidence, and ultimately your behavior. This conversation is the voice of habit. A poor mindset is dominated by an inner voice that focuses on limitation. It magnifies risk and minimizes possibility. When opportunities appear, it quickly lists reasons why they might fail. It presents caution as wisdom and disguises fear as practicality. Over time, this voice becomes so familiar that it feels like truth. A rich mindset cultivates a different internal voice. It does not ignore danger or pretend that success is guaranteed. Instead, it balances caution with encouragement. When faced with uncertainty, it asks constructive questions. It searches for solutions rather than excuses. This voice becomes a partner in growth rather than an obstacle to it. The quality of your inner dialogue determines the quality of your daily experience. If your thoughts are consistently critical and discouraging, your energy declines. Motivation weakens. Even simple tasks begin to feel heavy. On the other hand, when your internal language is supportive and focused on progress, your mind becomes a source of strength. Many people believe that thoughts simply happen to them and cannot be controlled. This belief itself is a product of poor thinking. While you cannot stop thoughts from appearing, you can decide which thoughts deserve attention. Attention is like fuel. Whatever you consistently focus on grows stronger. Training your inner dialogue begins with observation. Throughout the day, notice how you speak to yourself during moments of stress or challenge. Do you automatically assume failure, or do you encourage effort? Do you criticize mistakes harshly, or do you treat them as part of learning? This awareness reveals patterns that may have operated unnoticed for years. Once you recognize these patterns, you gain the power to interrupt them. When a negative thought appears, pause before accepting it. Ask whether it is accurate, helpful, or necessary. Often you will discover that your harshest thoughts are exaggerated or unsupported by evidence. Replacing them with balanced, constructive alternatives gradually reshapes your mental environment. Consistency is essential in this process. Changing inner dialogue is not achieved through a single moment of insight. It requires repeated practice. Each time you redirect a limiting thought, you reinforce a healthier pattern. Over weeks and months, this practice transforms automatic reactions into intentional responses. A rich mindset understands that self-talk influences performance. Athletes, performers, and high achievers across many fields use deliberate mental language to prepare for challenges. They visualize success. They repeat affirmations that strengthen confidence. These techniques are not magical rituals. They are methods of conditioning the mind to operate in alignment with goals. Equally important is the way you interpret mistakes. A poor mindset treats errors as evidence of personal inadequacy. This interpretation creates shame and discourages experimentation. Fear of failure then becomes a barrier to progress. People avoid opportunities that might expose imperfection. A rich mindset reframes mistakes as data. Every unsuccessful attempt contains information about what can be improved. When errors are treated as feedback, they lose their emotional sting and become tools for refinement. This perspective encourages persistence and creativity. Another aspect of inner dialogue involves comparison with others. Constant comparison can either inspire growth or generate insecurity. A poor mindset compares in order to judge worth. It uses others' achievements as proof of personal insufficiency. A rich mindset compares in order to learn. It studies others to extract strategies and insights without diminishing self-respect. Gratitude also plays a crucial role in shaping internal conversation. When attention is focused exclusively on what is missing, dissatisfaction becomes the default state. Recognizing existing strengths and resources creates emotional stability. Gratitude does not eliminate ambition. Instead, it provides a stable foundation from which ambition can grow. Your environment influences inner dialogue more than you may realize. The people you interact with, the media you consume, and the conversations you engage in all contribute to the tone of your thoughts. Surrounding yourself with constructive influences reinforces positive mental habits. Exposure to constant negativity, in contrast, strengthens limiting narratives. However, responsibility ultimately rests with you. Even in challenging environments, you retain the ability to choose your focus. This choice may require deliberate boundaries, such as limiting exposure to discouraging voices or seeking communities that support growth. Protecting your mental space is not selfish. It is necessary for development. Visualization is another powerful tool for guiding inner dialogue. When you vividly imagine achieving a goal, your brain activates patterns similar to those used during real performance. This mental rehearsal builds familiarity and reduces anxiety. It prepares you to act with greater confidence when opportunities arise. The transformation of inner dialogue is not about pretending that difficulties do not exist. It is about cultivating a mindset that responds to difficulty with resilience. Optimism in this context is not blind positivity. It is a disciplined focus on possibilities and solutions. As you continue this journey, remember that your thoughts are not commands. They are suggestions. You have the authority to evaluate them, accept what is useful, and discard what is limiting. This authority is the foundation of mental freedom. When your inner dialogue becomes an ally rather than an adversary, everyday challenges lose much of their intimidation. Effort feels purposeful. Setbacks feel temporary. Progress becomes a natural consequence of consistent engagement. The voice inside your mind will always be present. The question is whether it will echo fear or amplify potential. By consciously shaping that voice, you shape the emotional climate in which your actions unfold. And in shaping that climate, you influence the direction of your life in ways more profound than any external circumstance could achieve. The difference between those who create wealth and those who struggle is not luck, it is perception. The lens through which you see the world determines what you notice, what you pursue, and what you dismiss. A poor mindset focuses on obstacles. It sees scarcity where there is abundance. It notices what is missing, what is difficult, what could go wrong. This perspective narrows vision and limits action. People with this mindset wait for permission, for perfect timing, or for circumstances to be ideal. They often miss opportunities that require courage, initiative, or creative thinking. A rich mindset focuses on possibilities. It sees potential where others see risk. It identifies openings and challenge. It asks, How can this work? Rather than, why will this fail? This perspective expands vision and increases responsiveness. Opportunities are recognized early, acted upon quickly, and maximized effectively. The ability to see opportunities is cultivated. It begins with curiosity. People with a rich mindset constantly ask questions. What can I learn from this? How can I improve? What possibilities are hidden in this situation? Curiosity fuels exploration, experimentation, and growth. Without it, even the most obvious opportunities pass unnoticed. Timing is another crucial factor. A poor mindset often delays action, waiting for conditions to feel perfect. It fears mistakes, rejection, or failure. Meanwhile, a rich mindset understands that perfect timing rarely exists. Action creates clarity. Momentum builds when you act decisively, even amidst uncertainty. Waiting for certainty often results in missed chances. Risk is an inseparable part of opportunity. The poor mindset perceives risk as threat. Every step outside comfort feels dangerous. Small losses loom larger than potential gains. This perception creates inaction. The rich mindset treats risk differently. Risk is acknowledged, measured, and mitigated. Failure is viewed as information, not judgment. Taking calculated risks becomes a method of progress, not a source of fear. Wealth is rarely created in isolation. Collaboration, networking, and learning from others are critical. A poor mindset sees others as competition or threat. It hoards information and avoids shared ventures. A rich mindset sees people as allies, mentors, and sources of insight. It understands that expanding influence and exchanging knowledge accelerates growth. Adaptability is another key difference. Circumstances change, markets shift, and challenges emerge unpredictably. The poor mindset resists change, clinging to familiarity. The rich mindset anticipates change, embraces flexibility, and adjusts strategies quickly. Adaptability turns potential disruptions into opportunities for advantage. Vision distinguishes thinking patterns. The poor mindset is short-term focused. It seeks immediate results and gratification, often at the expense of long-term benefit. The rich mindset invests in the future. Every action, decision, and effort is connected to a broader vision. Patience becomes a strength, delayed gratification a tool, and persistence an advantage. Belief in self amplifies the ability to seize opportunities. A poor mindset doubts capability and underestimates potential. Opportunities appear intimidating or unattainable. A rich mindset believes in competence, preparation, and growth. Challenges become invitations to learn rather than threats to identity. Confidence is developed through experience, not innate talent. Learning from failure is vital. A poor mindset interprets failure as evidence of limitation. Mistakes create shame, fear, and hesitation. A rich mindset interprets failure as feedback. Every error provides information to refine strategy, improve skill, and strengthen resilience. This perspective transforms setbacks into stepping stones. Preparation increases receptivity to opportunity. The poor mindset ignores preparation, thinking luck or timing is the decisive factor. The rich mindset emphasizes readiness. Knowledge, skill development, and consistent effort ensure that when opportunity arises, action is informed, effective, and decisive. Action multiplies potential. Thinking alone is insufficient. A poor mindset overanalyzes, delays, and doubts. A rich mindset aligns thought with action. Ideas are converted into measurable steps. Execution, not merely planning, generates results. The environment shapes opportunity recognition. Surroundings that are supportive, inspiring, and resourceful amplify vision. Negative, restrictive, or toxic environments dampen it. People with a rich mindset curate their environments. They seek mentors, join communities, and consume content that expands understanding. Ultimately, opportunity is created as much as it is discovered. The rich mindset is proactive. It seeks gaps, innovates solutions, and takes initiative. It transforms obstacles into avenues. The poor mindset is reactive, waiting for external change instead of creating internal momentum. The key lesson is simple. Wealth begins with vision. Vision begins with perception. Perception is shaped by mindset. When you see the world through a lens of possibility, you notice opportunities that others overlook. When you act decisively on those opportunities, you transform potential into reality. The secret is not in waiting for luck or circumstance to align. It is in cultivating the mindset that recognizes, prepares for, and seizes opportunity at every turn. And once that mindset is mastered, the flow of opportunity becomes consistent, deliberate, and transformative. Chapter 5. Habits are the invisible architecture of life. They shape your days, your decisions, and eventually your destiny. Most people underestimate the power of small, consistent actions. A poor mindset treats habits as optional, random, or unimportant. A rich mindset treats habits as deliberate tools, the building blocks of success. The difference between rich and poor thinking is rarely dramatic in a single moment. It is subtle and accumulative, revealed in the daily patterns that either advance life or constrain it. Success is not a single leap. It is the compound result of repeated actions, reinforced beliefs, and disciplined routines. A poor mindset often relies on willpower alone. Motivation feels like a temporary surge. When motivation fades, actions stop. Tasks are delayed, procrastination becomes a pattern, and inconsistency dominates. Without structure, potential remains unrealized. A rich mindset relies on systems rather than fleeting motivation. It creates routines that automate progress. Habits are designed to support goals, reduce decision fatigue, and maintain momentum even when energy is low. Systems convert intention into action. They make consistency inevitable. Consider financial habits. A poor mindset spends impulsively, delays saving, and avoids planning. Small leaks accumulate into significant shortages. A rich mindset invests, budgets, and tracks resources. These behaviors may seem mundane, but their cumulative effect creates freedom, stability, and opportunity. Time management is another area where mindset shows itself. The poor mindset treats time as infinite and easily wasted. Hours are lost to distraction, indecision, and avoidance. The rich mindset values time as the most precious resource. Every hour is evaluated for contribution toward long-term goals. Priorities are set, distractions minimized, and effort aligned with vision. Learning and knowledge acquisition are also habitual. A poor mindset consumes information passively or rarely invests in growth. Reading, reflection, and skill building feel optional or burdensome. A rich mindset dedicates time daily to learning. Knowledge is treated as leverage. It compounds, creating new opportunities and insights over time. Discipline is the bridge between intention and outcome. Poor thinkers see discipline as restriction. They avoid discomfort and prefer immediate satisfaction. Rich thinkers see discipline as freedom. It allows long-term results, builds confidence, and creates stability. Delayed gratification becomes a tool for compounding success. Daily routines reflect underlying beliefs. A poor mindset prioritizes comfort, avoidance, and short-term pleasure. A rich mindset prioritizes growth, productivity, and intentional action. Success is not about radical talent or luck. It is about the repeated choices that structure your day and therefore your life. Accountability is another distinguishing habit. Poor thinkers often deflect responsibility. They blame circumstance, luck, or other people when results do not meet expectations. Rich thinkers hold themselves accountable. They monitor progress, adjust actions when needed, and treat mistakes as learning opportunities rather than permanent failures. Health habits reveal mindset as well. Poor thinkers neglect physical and mental well-being, believing that effort in these areas is optional. Rich thinkers understand that energy, focus, and resilience are assets. Regular exercise, balanced nutrition, and mental self-care become non-negotiable routines that sustain performance over time. Networking and relationships are habitual behaviors too. Poor thinkers avoid connections, fear rejection, or see others as competitors. Rich thinkers invest in relationships, seek mentors, collaborate, and build communities that amplify growth. Social capital is leveraged thoughtfully, creating opportunities that would be unreachable alone. Reflection and review are often overlooked habits. Poor thinkers move from day to day without assessing results, repeating ineffective patterns. Rich thinkers schedule time to review outcomes, reflect on successes and failures, and adjust strategies. This process of evaluation ensures continuous improvement. Gratitude, journaling, and mental rehearsal are also powerful habits. Poor thinkers focus on problems and what they lack. Rich thinkers cultivate awareness of strengths, opportunities, and progress. These practices reinforce confidence, clarity, and a proactive mindset. The most important principle is consistency. Small actions, repeated daily, compound into extraordinary outcomes over time. A single productive day does not build a rich life, but thousands of aligned actions do. Habits are the engine that transforms mindset into tangible reality. In essence, wealth, opportunity, and success are not random. They are the natural results of deliberate thought, intentional habits, and disciplined routines. Poor thinking creates scattered, inconsistent habits that constrain growth. Rich thinking creates structured, purposeful habits that amplify potential. Your challenge is simple but profound. Examine your daily routines. Identify which habits support growth and which reinforce limitation. Replace passive, fear-based behaviors with proactive, constructive routines. Over time, your life will reflect the mindset embedded in the architecture of your days. It shapes decisions, limits action, and quietly enforces comfort zones. The poor mindset treats fear as a warning signal, a reason to stop. Every risk is magnified. Every challenge is a threat. Opportunities are avoided because the potential for failure feels greater than the potential for gain. The rich mindset views fear differently. Fear is acknowledged, not ignored, but it is treated as information rather than instruction. It signals growth, challenge, and opportunity. When fear appears, it is a sign that you are stepping beyond familiar boundaries and that progress is possible. Risk is inseparable from opportunity. The poor mindset sees risk as dangerous and avoids it. It prefers security, predictability, and small comfort. Over time, avoiding risk becomes a habit, and habit becomes limitation. Wealth, growth, and extraordinary achievement rarely arise from comfort zones. The rich mindset evaluates risk strategically. Risk is measured, planned for, and mitigated. Action is taken despite uncertainty, guided by preparation and analysis. Calculated risks open doors. Avoided risks close them. The mindset difference is not about being reckless, it is about being deliberate. Decision-making reveals mindset in action. Poor thinkers hesitate, overanalyze, and wait for external confirmation. They delay action, believing circumstances must be perfect. Rich thinkers make informed decisions quickly. They understand that clarity emerges through action. Waiting for certainty is a trap that guarantees inaction. Every decision is a reflection of belief. When you believe you are capable, decisions are bold, confident, and aligned with growth. When you doubt yourself, decisions are timid, inconsistent, and influenced by fear. The accumulation of these choices over time determines the trajectory of your life. Mistakes are inevitable. The poor mindset interprets mistakes as evidence of inadequacy. Failure triggers shame, discouragement, and withdrawal. The rich mindset interprets mistakes as feedback. Each error provides information to refine strategy, develop skill, and increase resilience. Failure becomes a tool for improvement, not a verdict on capability. Action in the face of fear is a skill. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action despite fear. Rich thinkers act even when uncertainty exists. Confidence emerges from repeated engagement with challenges. The poor mindset waits for confidence to arrive before acting. But confidence is a byproduct of doing, not a prerequisite. Opportunities often appear disguised as challenges. Poor thinkers see only the obstacle. Rich thinkers see the path hidden within the obstacle. Perspective shifts the interpretation of risk. What paralyzes one person energizes another. The difference is mindset. Persistence is critical. Fear often appears strongest at the moment before breakthrough. Those with a poor mindset quit prematurely. Those with a rich mindset persist, learning and adapting until opportunity transforms into achievement. The capacity to continue, despite fear, uncertainty, and temporary failure, separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Preparation reduces the impact of fear. The poor mindset avoids preparation, believing outcomes are dictated by luck or external forces. The rich mindset invests in knowledge, skill, and strategy. Preparation builds confidence, reduces risk, and makes action more effective. Surrounding yourself with the right influences strengthens courage. The poor mindset isolates, fears judgment, and avoids mentorship. The rich mindset seeks guidance, learns from others, and leverages collective wisdom. Collaboration mitigates fear and expands perspective. Emotional regulation is another difference. Fear triggers stress, impatience, and impulsive reactions in the poor mindset. The rich mindset trains emotional control, allowing calm, deliberate decisions. Composure under pressure amplifies opportunities and strengthens leadership. Every choice to act, despite fear, reinforces new neural pathways. Repeated engagement with challenge retrains the mind to view difficulty as navigable. Over time, risk and uncertainty lose their paralyzing power, and fear becomes a motivator rather than a barrier. Ultimately, mastery of fear and risk is not a guarantee of success, but it is a prerequisite for it. Every person faces uncertainty, danger, and potential failure. What separates those who achieve extraordinary results from those who remain average is the willingness to act, adapt, and persist in the presence of fear. The mindset of rich thinkers transforms fear into information, risk into opportunity, and challenges into stepping stones. The mindset of poor thinkers allows fear to dominate, turning life into a series of missed chances, deferred dreams, and untested potential. Your next step is simple yet profound. Notice where fear influences your decisions. Observe when hesitation is driven by limitation rather than logic. Consciously choose action in alignment with opportunity, not retreat. In mastering fear and risk, you reclaim control over your life, your growth, and your future. Chapter 7. Money is a reflection of mindset. It is neither inherently good nor bad. but the way you think about it determines how it flows into and out of your life. Poor thinkers see money as limited, dangerous, or unattainable. They associate wealth with luck, inheritance, or external circumstances. This perspective creates fear, hesitation, and scarcity in financial decisions. Rich thinkers see money differently. They view it as a tool, a resource, and a measure of value exchanged for contribution. Wealth is not simply accumulated. It is created through the combination of skill, effort, and opportunity. Money is a byproduct of solving problems, adding value, and taking informed risks. The poor mindset focuses on spending and immediate gratification. It avoids budgeting, planning, or investing. Small leaks in attention, energy, and resources accumulate over time. Debt, dependency, and financial stress often follow. Short-term desires dominate decisions, and long-term goals are postponed or forgotten. The rich mindset prioritizes earning, investing, and multiplying resources. It recognizes that small, consistent actions compound into significant wealth. Savings, investments, skill development, and strategic networking become habitual. Every financial decision is intentional, aligned with long-term vision rather than momentary impulse. Value perception distinguishes mindset further. Poor thinkers undervalue their own skills, time, and contribution. They sell themselves short, accept less than they deserve, and hesitate to demand fair compensation. Rich thinkers recognize their value and price themselves accordingly. They negotiate, leverage skills, and maximize opportunities to create abundance for themselves and others. Education and financial literacy are key. Poor thinkers often ignore learning about money, believing it is complicated, irrelevant, or unattainable. Rich thinkers invest in understanding finance, markets, and opportunity. Knowledge creates confidence, reduces fear, and allows intelligent risk-taking. The difference in knowledge often explains disparities in results more than effort alone. Mindset also shapes how people respond to financial setbacks. Poor thinkers see loss as punishment or evidence of inadequacy. Rich thinkers see it as feedback and a chance to adjust strategies. Loss is temporary, failure is instructive, and perseverance becomes a tool for compounding growth. Generosity distinguishes rich mindset thinking. Poor thinkers see giving as a sacrifice or risk. They hoard resources and fear scarcity. Rich thinkers understand that giving creates value, builds relationships, and strengthens influence. The circulation of resources multiplies opportunity. Wealth grows when it flows purposefully, not when it is withheld. Debt and leverage reveal mindset differences. Poor thinkers fear borrowing or mismanage credit, avoiding risk entirely or using it destructively. Rich thinkers understand how to leverage resources intelligently, using credit, investment, or partnerships to scale growth. Knowledge, preparation, and disciplined action make leverage a tool rather than a trap. Time and money are linked. Poor thinkers waste time on low-value activities, treating hours as infinite. Rich thinkers invest time where it creates value, often turning hours into financial and personal growth. Opportunity cost is considered, and choices reflect strategic thinking rather than immediate comfort. Wealth creation is cumulative. A single smart decision or high-paying job does not create lasting financial security. Repeated actions aligned with value creation, smart spending, continuous learning, and calculated risk compound into true wealth. Mindset determines whether these actions are consistent or sporadic. Mental models about scarcity and abundance shape financial behavior. Poor thinkers operate under the assumption that resources are limited. This creates competition, fear, and hesitation. Rich thinkers operate from abundance. They focus on generating new value, creating opportunities, and expanding possibilities. The abundance mindset attracts solutions that scarcity thinking would miss. Ultimately, money is a reflection of belief, behavior, and perception. Poor thinking produces scarcity, stress, and missed opportunity. Rich thinking produces growth, freedom, and leverage. By cultivating the mindset of value, learning, and opportunity, you can transform financial circumstances over time. Your challenge is to examine your beliefs about money. Notice where fear, scarcity, or hesitation influence decisions. Replace limiting beliefs with strategic, informed, and intentional actions. Recognize money as a tool, not a barrier. When you do this, wealth becomes a natural result of mindset, habits, and consistent action. Chapter 8. The people you surround yourself with shape your thoughts, beliefs, and actions far more than you realize. Social influence is powerful. A poor mindset often attracts or tolerates negative, limiting, or indifferent company. Conversations center on complaints, excuses, and scarcity. This environment reinforces fear, doubt, and stagnation. A rich mindset, on the other hand, intentionally chooses associations that expand thinking. People with growth, ambition, and vision become catalysts for your own development. Conversations focus on solutions, ideas, and opportunities. Supportive relationships amplify confidence, reinforce positive habits, and create accountability. Networking is more than exchanging business cards or social media connections. It is the deliberate cultivation of mutual value. Poor thinkers often view networking as transactional, uncomfortable, or unnecessary. They avoid outreach, fear rejection, and see other successful people as competitors rather than teachers. Rich thinkers view networking as learning and leverage. They seek mentors, collaborators, and peers who challenge them to grow. They understand that influence is built through contribution and trust. Relationships are a two-way street. Giving value, support, and insight strengthens bonds and multiplies opportunity. Communication is central to influence. Poor thinkers speak cautiously, often hiding ambition, avoiding assertiveness, or fearing judgment. Their voice is small, hesitant, and reactive. Rich thinkers communicate with clarity, confidence, and purpose. They express ideas, vision, and goals without apology. This clarity attracts resources, allies, and opportunity. Mentorship is another distinction. Poor thinkers rarely seek guidance or fail to act on advice. They may resent others' success or believe they must figure everything out alone. Rich thinkers actively seek mentors, learn from their experiences, and apply insights strategically. They understand that guidance accelerates growth and reduces avoidable mistakes. Collaboration distinguishes rich social thinking. Poor mindset individuals may hoard ideas, avoid teamwork, or fear being overshadowed. Rich mindset individuals recognize the power of collective intelligence. They partner, share knowledge, and create synergy. Collaboration transforms individual effort into amplified results. Influence also depends on integrity and consistency. Poor thinkers often compromise values for short-term gain or avoid accountability. This erodes trust, credibility, and long-term relationships. Rich thinkers uphold commitments, honor agreements, and demonstrate reliability. Trust becomes a multiplier of opportunity and influence. Emotional intelligence is another hallmark. Poor thinkers react impulsively to conflict, criticism, or rejection. Rich thinkers observe, listen, and respond thoughtfully. They manage emotions to maintain relationships, navigate challenges, and negotiate outcomes effectively. Emotional mastery strengthens leadership and social impact. Generosity and contribution extend beyond wealth. Poor thinkers often see resources, time, or knowledge as scarce. Rich thinkers understand that sharing ideas, support, and guidance creates reciprocity and goodwill. Influence grows when contribution is genuine, consistent, and impactful. Boundaries are essential. Poor thinkers may allow toxic or draining relationships to persist, weakening energy, focus, and motivation. Rich thinkers protect mental and emotional space, prioritizing relationships that encourage growth while limiting those that reinforce limitation. Boundaries are not isolation. They are strategic self-preservation. Observation is a powerful tool. Rich thinkers learn from the successes and failures of others. They study habits, strategies, and decision-making. Poor thinkers may envy or dismiss achievements, missing the lesson entirely. Learning from others accelerates growth without repeating unnecessary mistakes. Ultimately, social capital compounds like money. Poor thinking wastes potential by avoiding connections, allowing negativity to dominate, and underestimating influence. Rich thinking builds networks, nurtures relationships, and leverages human capital to expand opportunity, knowledge, and impact. Your next step is to evaluate your inner circle. Notice which relationships inspire growth and which reinforce limitation. Seek people who challenge, support, and encourage constructive action. Invest in giving value, learning from others, and building influence intentionally. The mindset you cultivate socially will amplify everything else in your life.